The station was loud and busy, like it always was. Thousands of aliens moved through the wide halls of Prime, going about their daily lives. Some were tall with 4 arms. Others were small and covered in thick fur. There were species of every color and shape, speaking in languages that filled the air like strange music. And then there was Ho. He was human, one of the few on the station. He worked in the cargo bay, lifting boxes and moving supplies from one ship to another. It was hard work, but it paid enough to keep him alive. That was all he needed. Ho wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at the time on his wrist device. His shift was over. He could finally go back to his small room and rest. His body was tired, and his muscles hurt from hours of heavy lifting. He walked through the back corridors of the station. These halls were not as nice as the main areas. The lights were dim, and the walls were old and dirty. Most workers used these paths to avoid the crowded main streets. It was faster and quieter. Ho liked the quiet. He had been on the station for 2 years now, and he had learned to keep his head down. Humans were not popular in the galaxy. Most species saw them as weak, short-lived, and unimportant. Some even called them pests. Ho had heard all the insults before. He had learned to ignore them. He turned a corner and stopped. There was a girl in the corridor. She was small, maybe the size of a human child, but she was not human. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes were large and silver. She had 2 small horns on her head that curved backward like a crown. She wore a beautiful white dress that looked too expensive for this part of the station. She was crying. In front of her stood 3 large aliens. They were a species known for their strength and bad temper. Their skin was gray and rough like stone, and their eyes were small and dark. They wore black armor and carried weapons on their belts. One of them reached for the girl. "Come with us, little princess," he said. His voice was deep and ugly. "Your mother will pay a lot to get you back." The girl screamed and tried to run, but another grabbed her arm. She kicked and fought, but she was too small and too weak. Ho's heart beat fast. He knew he should walk away. This was not his problem. These were dangerous aliens, and he was just a human. If he got involved, he would probably die. But the girl looked so scared. Her silver eyes were filled with tears, and her small body was shaking. She was just a child. Ho thought of his own sister. She had died a long time ago back on Earth. He could not save her. He was too young and too weak. But he was not weak anymore. He stepped forward. "Let her go," he said. The 3 turned to look at him. For a moment they just stared. Then they started to laugh. "A human," one of them said. "A little human wants to be a hero." "Go away, pest," another one said. "This is not your business." Ho did not move. "I said let her go." The biggest smiled. It was not a nice smile. "You want to die today, human? Fine, I will make it quick." He let go of the girl and walked toward Ho. He was at least 2 heads taller and 3 times heavier. His fists looked like they could crush rocks. The swung his arm. It was fast and powerful, but Ho was faster. He ducked under the blow and moved to the side. Ho was surprised. He did not expect the human to dodge. Ho had learned to fight on the streets of Earth. He had grown up in a hard place, where you either learned to protect yourself or you did not survive. He was not a soldier, but he knew how to move, how to avoid hits, and where to strike. He punched Thee in the throat. The alien made a choking sound and stumbled backward. Ho did not wait. He grabbed a metal pipe from the ground and swung it at the second. It hit the alien's knee with a loud crack. The screamed and fell. The third pulled out a knife. His eyes were full of anger now. No more laughing, no more jokes. "You will regret this, human," he said. He attacked. The knife cut through the air fast and deadly. Ho tried to dodge, but he was not quick enough. The blade cut his arm and blood started to flow. The pain was sharp and hot, but Ho did not stop. He swung the pipe again. It hit his hand and the knife fell to the ground. Ho kicked it away and then hit the alien in the head. The fell and did not get up. Ho stood there breathing hard. His arm was bleeding and his body was shaking, but all three were on the ground. They were not moving. He turned to look at the girl. She was still standing against the wall, her eyes wide with shock. She had stopped crying. Now she was just staring at him like she could not believe what she had seen. "Are you okay?" Ho asked. His voice was gentle. The girl nodded slowly. You saved me." "Can you walk? We need to get out of here before they wake up." The girl took a small step forward, then another. Then she ran to Ho and grabbed his hand. Her fingers were small and cold, but she held on tight like she was afraid to let go. "What is your name?" she asked. "Ho, what is yours?" "Lyra," she said quietly. "My name is Lyra." Ho looked at her beautiful dress, her small horns, and the strange silver mark on her forehead. He had seen that mark before, on the flags and symbols all over the station. It was the mark of the royal family. "Lyra," he said slowly, are you the princess?" The girl looked down at the ground. "Yes, Princess Lyra of the Dominion, daughter of Queen Vara." Ho felt his heart drop. He had just attacked 3 aliens to save the daughter of the most powerful ruler in this sector. Either he had done something very good, or he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. "Okay, princess," he said, "let me take you somewhere safe." He started walking and Lyra followed, her small hand still holding his. Behind them, the 3 remained on the ground, defeated by a human they had called weak. The corridor was quiet now, but Ho knew that the quiet would not last. Ho moved through the dark corridors with Lyra close behind him. Her small hand was still holding his, and she refused to let go. Every few seconds she would look back, afraid that they might be following them. "It is okay," Ho said softly. "They will not wake up soon, we have time." But even as he said it, he was not sure. The wound on his arm was still bleeding. He had wrapped it with a piece of cloth from his shirt, but the blood was already showing through. The pain was getting worse, but he tried not to show it. He did not want to scare the girl. "Where are we going?" Lyra asked. "To the main hall. There will be guards there, royal guards. They will take you back to your mother." Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "What will happen to you?" Ho did not answer. He did not know. He had saved the princess, but he had also touched her, fought for her, and held her hand. In some cultures that was a crime. In others it was an honor. He did not know how the people would see it. They walked in silence until they reached a larger corridor. Here, the lights were brighter and the walls were cleaner. They were getting closer to the main areas of the station. Suddenly, Ho heard footsteps behind them. Heavy footsteps, many of them. He turned around and saw more coming out of the shadows. Not 3 this time, 10, maybe more. They were all armed with weapons and they looked angry. "There he is," one of them said, "the human who hurt our brothers." Ho pushed Lyra behind him. "Run," he said to her. "Run to the main hall and find the guards." "No," Lyra cried. "I will not leave you." "You have to. I will be fine. Just run." But Lyra did not move. She held onto his arm and shook her head. "You saved me. I will not leave you alone." Ho felt something warm in his chest. It had been a long time since anyone had cared about him like this. But he could not let her stay. If she got hurt because of him, he would never forgive himself. "Please," he said, "run for me." Lyra looked up at him with her big silver eyes. Tears were falling down her blue cheeks again. But she finally nodded and let go of his arm. "I will bring help," she said. "I promise." Then she ran. Her small feet made quick sounds on the metal floor as she disappeared into the bright corridor ahead. Ho turned back to face They were coming closer now, forming a half-circle around him. Their weapons were out. Knives, clubs, and electric sticks that made a buzzing sound. "You are brave, human," the leader said. He was the biggest of them all, with scars on his face and arms. "But you are also stupid. You think you can fight all of us." Ho picked up the metal pipe he was still holding. His arm hurt badly now. The blood had soaked through the cloth and was dripping onto the floor, but he did not put down his weapon. "I do not think I can win," he said honestly, "but I will not let you pass, not while she is running." The leader laughed. "You will die for a girl you just met. Humans really are crazy." "Maybe," Ho said, "but at least I will die doing something right." The first attacked. Ho moved quickly, swinging the pipe and hitting the alien's arm, but another came from the side and punched him in the stomach. The air left his lungs, and he fell to one knee. He forced himself to stand up. He swung the pipe again and hit someone. He did not know who. Everything was becoming a blur of gray skin and sharp weapons. Pain exploded in his shoulder as a knife cut him, then his leg, then his back. But he kept fighting. Every time a tried to get past him, Ho blocked the way. Every time he fell, he got back up. The pipe in his hand became red with blood, some of it his own and some of it theirs. His vision was getting dark around the edges, but he refused to close his eyes. He thought of Lyra. He thought of her small hand in his and the way she had looked at him with so much trust. He could not let her down. "Why will you not die?" the leader screamed. He was bleeding too now. Ho had hit him several times, but the big alien was still standing. "Just give up." "Never," Ho whispered. He swung the pipe one more time. It hit the leader in the face and the big finally fell. But before Ho could celebrate, something hard hit the back of his head. The world turned black for a moment. When his vision came back, he was on the ground. His face was pressed against the cold metal floor, and he could not move his arms or legs. A stood over him with a knife. "Time to finish this," he said. Ho closed his eyes. He had fought as hard as he could. He had given Lyra enough time to escape. Maybe that was enough. Then he heard a sound, a loud, sharp sound that made the whole corridor shake. "Stop!" The voice was powerful and cold. It was the voice of someone who was used to giving orders and having them obeyed. Ho opened his eyes and saw light, bright, golden light coming from the end of the corridor, and in that light he saw figures, many figures, royal guards in shining armor holding weapons that glowed with energy. And in front of them all there was a woman. She was tall and beautiful, with blue skin like Lyra's and long silver hair that flowed behind her like water. She wore a crown of white metal and a dress of black and gold. Her eyes were the same silver color as Lyra's, but they were hard and cold like ice. Queen Vara. Next to her, holding onto her mother's hand, was Lyra. The little princess was crying again, but this time there was relief in her tears. "Mother, that is him," Lyra said, pointing at Ho. "That is the human who saved me." Queen Vara looked at Ho. He was lying in a pool of his own blood, beaten and broken, but he was still breathing, still alive. She looked at the around him. Some were standing, some were on the ground. All of them were afraid now. "You attacked my daughter," the queen said. Her voice was quiet, but it was more terrifying than any shout. "And when this human tried to protect her, you tried to kill him too." The leader, who had managed to get back on his feet, fell to his knees. "Your Majesty, please, we did not know." "Silence." The word hung in the air like a blade. The leader stopped talking immediately. Queen Vara turned to her guards. "Take them, all of them. They will face judgment for their crimes." The guards moved quickly. In seconds, all were surrounded and taken away. They did not resist. They knew there was no point. The queen walked forward until she stood next to Ho. She looked down at him with an expression he could not read. "You protected my daughter," she said. Ho tried to speak, but only a weak sound came out. He had lost too much blood. The world was getting dark again. "You fought against impossible numbers. You let yourself be cut and beaten so she could escape." The queen knelt down beside him. Her silver eyes were softer now. "Why?" Ho forced himself to answer. His voice was barely a whisper. "Because." She was scared because no one else was there. Queen Vara stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned to her guards. Get the medical team. Now, this human will not die today. As hands lifted him from the ground, Ho saw Lyra running toward him. Her small face was full of worry and hope. "You will be okay," she said. "I promise, my mother will save you." Ho tried to smile, then everything went dark. Ho woke up slowly. His eyes opened and he saw a ceiling he did not recognize. It was high and white, with soft lights that glowed like stars. The air smelled clean and fresh, not like the old, recycled air in his small room. He tried to sit up, but his body hurt too much. He groaned and fell back onto the soft bed. "Do not move," a voice said. "You are still healing." Ho turned his head and saw an alien standing next to his bed. This one had pale green skin and 4 eyes. He wore a white coat and held a small device in his hand. "Where am I?" Ho asked. His voice was rough and dry. "You are in the Royal Medical Center," the alien said. "I am Dr. Pell. You have been asleep for 3 days." 3 days. Ho tried to remember what had happened. The fight, the Lyra, the Queen, it all came back to him in pieces. "You lost a lot of blood," Dr. Pell continued. "You had cuts on your arm, leg, shoulder, and back. You also had damage to your head. Any other species would have died from your injuries, but humans are different." Ho did not know what to say to that. He had never thought of himself as special. He had just done what he had to do. "The princess has been asking about you," the doctor said. "She has come to visit every day. She refuses to leave until I give her news about you." Lyra, Ho felt a small smile form on his lips. "She is okay." "She is perfectly fine, thanks to you." Dr. Pell looked at him with something that might have been respect. "Rest now. I will tell her that you are awake." The doctor left and Ho was alone. He looked around the room. It was beautiful. The bed was softer than anything he had ever slept on. The walls were decorated with paintings of stars and planets. There was a window that showed the endless black sky outside, filled with distant lights. This was not a room for someone like him. This was a room for important people, for royalty. The door opened and Lyra ran in. Her face was bright with happiness, and her silver eyes were shining. "You are awake," she cried. She ran to his bed and stopped just before touching him. "I was so worried. The doctor said you might not wake up, but I knew you would, I knew it." Ho looked at her. She was not wearing the beautiful white dress anymore. Now she had on simple blue clothes, but she still looked like a princess. Her small horns caught the light, and the silver mark on her forehead seemed to glow. "I am glad you are safe," he said. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "I am safe because of you. You protected me. You fought all those bad people, even when you were hurt." "Anyone would have done the same." "No," Lyra shook her head. "No one else did. There were other people in those corridors. I saw them. They saw me being taken and they did nothing. Only you came, only you." Ho did not know what to say. He had not thought about it that way. He had just seen a scared child and wanted to help her. That was all. The door opened again, and this time Queen Vara walked in. She looked different from the last time Ho had seen her. She was not wearing her crown or her formal dress. Instead, she wore simple dark robes that made her look almost like a normal person. Almost. There was still something in the way she walked, the way she held herself, that showed she was a ruler. Lyra stepped back and bowed her head slightly. "Mother." "Lyra, my dear." The Queen's voice was warm when she spoke to her daughter. "Could you give us a moment alone? I would like to speak with our guest." Lyra looked at Ho, then at her mother. She seemed nervous. "You will not hurt him, will you?" Queen Vara smiled softly. "No, my child, I promise." Lyra nodded and walked to the door. Before she left, she turned back and said, "I will come back soon, Ho. I will bring you food. The doctor said you need to eat." Then she was gone, and Ho was alone with the most powerful woman in the sector. Queen Vara walked to a chair near his bed and sat down. For a long moment, she just looked at him. Her silver eyes studied his face like she was trying to read his thoughts. "Do you know who I am?" she finally asked. "Queen Vara," Ho answered, "ruler of the Dominion." "Yes, and do you know what that means?" "It means you are very powerful, and probably very busy." A small smile appeared on the Queen's lips. "That is one way to put it. I rule over 47 star systems and more than 200 billion people. Every day, I make decisions that affect the lives of millions. I have armies at my command and weapons that could destroy planets." Ho swallowed. He was not sure where this conversation was going. "And yet," the Queen continued, "with all my power and all my armies, I could not protect my own daughter. She was taken from my palace, from my own station, by criminals who wanted to use her against me. My guards did not see it. My spies did not know. For 3 hours I did not know where my child was." Her voice was steady, but Ho could hear the pain behind it, the fear, a mother's fear. "Then you found her," she said, "a human, a cargo worker, someone with no power, no weapons, no reason to risk his life, and you saved her." "I just did what was right," Ho said quietly. "Anyone would have." "No," the Queen's voice was sharp. "Do not say that. Do not tell me anyone would have done it. I have read the reports. There were 12 people in those corridors who saw my daughter being taken. 12 people who could have helped. They all walked away. They all decided it was not their problem." She leaned forward, her eyes burning with intensity. "But you did not walk away. You stood alone against 3 armed criminals, and when more came, you fought them too. You let them cut you and beat you, and you still did not run. You stayed until my daughter was safe." Ho felt uncomfortable under her gaze. He was not used to being praised. He was not used to being noticed at all. "Your Majesty, I am just a worker. I am nobody special." "That is where you are wrong, human." Queen Vara stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the stars. "In my life, I have met many people who call themselves heroes. Warriors, generals, noble lords. They all talk about honor and duty and bravery. But when danger comes, when the choice is between their own safety and someone else's life, most of them run." She turned back to face him. "You did not run. You are more of a hero than any of them." Ho did not know what to say. His throat felt tight and his eyes were stinging. No one had ever spoken to him like this before. "I have a proposal for you," the Queen said. "I want you to stay here, in the palace, as Lyra's protector." "What?" Ho's eyes went wide. "Your Majesty, I cannot. I am not trained for that. I am not a soldier. I am just a man who was willing to die for a child he had never met." Queen Vara walked back to his bed and looked down at him. "That is exactly what I need. Not another soldier who follows orders. Not another guard who stands at doors. I need someone who will truly protect my daughter. Someone who will put her life before their own." She held out her hand. "What do you say, Ho of Earth? Will you stay?" Ho looked at her hand. He thought about his old life. The cargo bay, the heavy boxes, the lonely room with the broken light. He thought about how empty that life had been. Then he thought about Lyra, her smile, her silver eyes, the way she had held his hand and refused to let go. He reached up and took the Queen's hand. "I will stay," he said. Queen Vara smiled. It was the first real smile he had seen from her, and it made her look younger, softer. "Good," she said. "Welcome to the family, Ho." 2 weeks had passed since Ho agreed to stay at the palace. His wounds had healed, and he had moved from the medical center to his own room. But calling it a room did not feel right. It was bigger than his entire old apartment. It had a large bed, beautiful furniture, and windows that showed a perfect view of the stars. Every morning he woke up and had to remind himself that this was real, that this was his life now. Lyra visited him every day. She would knock on his door with her small fists and wait until he opened it. Then she would grab his hand and pull him to wherever she wanted to go. The gardens, the library, the kitchen where the cooks would give her sweet treats. "Come, Ho," she would say. "There is so much I want to show you." And Ho would follow. He could not say no to her. He did not want to. But not everyone in the palace was happy about him being there. One morning, a tall male came to his room. He had the same blue skin as Lyra and the Queen, but his eyes were cold and hard. He wore a military uniform covered with medals and symbols. "You are the human," he said. It was not a question. "Yes," Ho answered, "and you are." "Commander, head of the royal guard." The alien looked at Ho like he was something dirty on the floor. "I have been protecting this family for 30 years. I have fought in 12 wars and killed more enemies than you can count." Ho waited. He knew what was coming. "And now the Queen has decided that you, a human cargo worker, should be the princess's protector." Commander stepped closer. He was much taller than Ho and clearly stronger. "Do you think that is fair?" "I do not know if it is fair," Ho said calmly, "but it is what the Queen decided." "The Queen is emotional. She is grateful that you saved her daughter, but gratitude is not a good reason to give someone such an important job." Commander crossed his arms. "You are not trained. You are not strong. You are not one of us. You do not belong here." Ho felt his anger rising, but he kept his face calm. "Maybe you are right. Maybe I do not belong here, but I made a promise to protect Lyra, and I will keep that promise." "Words," Commander said. "Empty words from a weak species. We will see how long you last." He turned and walked away, his heavy boots making loud sounds on the floor. Ho stood in his doorway for a long moment after the commander left. He knew there would be people who did not want him here. He knew there would be challenges, but he had faced worse things in his life. He would not let anyone push him away. That afternoon, Ho was in the garden with Lyra when something happened. They were sitting by a fountain, watching the water sparkle in the light. Lyra was telling him about her favorite book, a story about a brave explorer who traveled to unknown stars. Ho listened and smiled, enjoying the peace of the moment. Then he heard footsteps, fast footsteps. He turned and saw a male running toward them. The man was wearing servant clothes, and he was carrying a knife. Ho did not think, he just moved. He pushed Lyra behind him and stood to face the attacker. The man with the knife screamed something in a language Ho did not understand and swung his weapon. Ho caught the man's wrist. The knife stopped just inches from his face. The attacker was strong, but Ho was used to hard work. His hands were tough and his grip was tight. They struggled for a moment. The attacker tried to push the knife forward. Ho pushed back. Their faces were close, and Ho could see the madness in the man's eyes. "Traitor's daughter," the man whispered. "She must die." Ho felt cold anger fill his body. He twisted the attacker's wrist hard. There was a cracking sound and the knife fell to the ground. The man screamed in pain. Ho did not stop. He pushed the man down and held him against the stone floor. The attacker tried to fight, but Ho was stronger. His knee pressed into the man's back, keeping him still. Guards came running. They had heard the scream. Commander was with them. "What happened?" the commander demanded. "This man tried to kill the princess," Ho said. He was breathing hard, but his voice was steady. "I stopped him." Commander looked at the attacker on the ground. Then he looked at Ho. Then at Lyra, who was standing behind the fountain with wide, scared eyes. "Take him away," the commander said to his guards. "Put him in a cell. I want to know everything, who sent him, how he got into the palace, everything." The guards lifted the attacker and carried him away. Commander watched them go, then turned back to Ho. "You stopped him," he said slowly. "Yes." "With your bare hands?" "Yes." The commander was quiet for a long moment. His cold eyes studied Ho's face, looking for something. Ho did not know what. "Maybe I was wrong about you," Commander finally said. "Maybe you are not as useless as I thought." It was not a compliment, not really, but it was something. The commander walked away and Ho let out a long breath. His heart was still beating fast and his hands were shaking. But Lyra was safe. That was all that mattered. He turned to look at her. She was still standing behind the fountain, her small body pressed against the stone. Her face was pale, and her silver eyes were full of tears. Ho walked to her and knelt down so they were at the same height. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. Lyra threw herself into his arms. She was shaking badly and her tears were falling on his shirt. But she was not crying with fear. She was crying with relief. "You saved me again," she whispered. "You always save me." Ho held her close. He could feel her small heart beating against his chest. "That is my job," he said. "I will always protect you, I promise." "Do you mean it?" Lyra pulled back and looked at him. Her eyes were red from crying, but there was hope in them too. "Do you really promise?" "I really promise." Lyra smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "Then I believe you." That evening, Queen Vara called Ho to her private chamber. It was a beautiful room filled with soft light and comfortable furniture. But the queen did not look comfortable. She looked worried. "I heard what happened in the garden," she said. "You saved Lyra again." "I just did what any protector would do." "No," the queen shook her head. "You did what no one else could do. You were there, you were ready. You did not hesitate." She walked to a window and looked out at the dark sky. "The man who attacked Lyra was part of a rebel group. They hate my family. They have tried to kill us before, and they will try again." Ho stayed quiet. He knew there was more she wanted to say. "I chose you to protect Lyra because I saw something in you," the queen continued. "Something that my guards and soldiers do not have. They follow orders. They do their duty. But you act from your heart. You protect because you care, not because someone told you to." She turned to face him. "There is an old tradition in my culture. When someone saves a royal's life twice, they are bound to the throne forever. They become part of the family, not by blood, but by bond." Ho felt his breath catch in his throat. "What does that mean?" "It means I am claiming you, Ho." Queen Vara's voice was strong and clear. "Not as a servant, not as a guard, as one of us. You will be protected by our laws, honored by our people, and given all the rights of the royal family." She stepped closer to him. "You will never be alone again. You will never be unwanted again. You are mine now. You belong to me and to Lyra and to this house. Forever." Ho stared at her. He could not speak. He could not move. His whole life he had been nobody, a poor boy from a broken planet, a worker who was ignored and forgotten. And now a queen was telling him that he belonged. His eyes filled with tears, but he blinked them away. "I do not know what to say." "Say yes," Queen Vara said softly. "Say you accept." Ho thought of everything he had lost. His family, his home, his hope. He thought of all the years he had spent feeling empty and alone. Then he thought of Lyra's smile, of the queen's warm eyes, of this place that was starting to feel like home. "Yes," he said, "I accept." Queen Vara smiled, and for a moment she did not look like a queen at all. She looked like a woman who had finally found something precious. "Welcome home, Ho," she said. "Welcome home." 6 months had passed since Queen Vara declared Ho as hers. In that time, everything had changed. Ho no longer lived in fear. He no longer woke up wondering if he would have enough credits to eat. He no longer walked through crowds with his head down, hoping no one would notice him. For the first time in his life, he had a place where he belonged. The palace had become his home. He knew every corridor, every garden, every hidden corner where Lyra liked to play. He knew the names of the servants and the guards. He knew which cook made the best breakfast and which librarian had the most interesting stories. And he knew that he was loved. Lyra followed him everywhere. She called him her protector, her friend, her big brother. Every morning she would find him and ask what they would do that day. Every night she would hug him before going to bed and whisper, "See you tomorrow." Those 3 words meant more to Ho than she would ever know. But it was not just Lyra who had grown close to him. Queen Vara had changed too. At first she had been distant, polite but formal. She was a queen, after all. She had responsibilities and duties that kept her busy. But slowly, she had started to spend more time with him. She would invite him to dinner with her and Lyra. She would ask his opinion on small matters. She would tell him stories about her past, her people, and her hopes for the future. One evening, as they sat in her private chamber watching the stars, she told him something he did not expect. "You know," she said, "Lyra's father died when she was very young. He was a good man, a brave man, but the rebels took him from us." Ho listened quietly. He had wondered about the princess's father, but had never felt right asking. "After he died, I closed my heart," Queen Vara continued. "I told myself that I had to be strong, that I could not let anyone get close again. It was too dangerous, too painful." She turned to look at him. "But then you came." Ho felt his heart beat faster. "Your Majesty." "Please call me Vara, at least when we are alone." "Vara," the name felt strange on his tongue but also right. "I am sorry about your husband." "Thank you," she smiled sadly. "He would have liked you, I think. He always said that the measure of a person is not their power or their birth, it is their heart. And you have a good heart, Ho." Ho did not know what to say. He had never been good with words, especially when it came to feelings. So he just sat there looking at the stars, feeling grateful to be alive. The next week, there was a grand ceremony in the palace. All the nobles and leaders of the Dominion had gathered in the great hall. They wore their finest clothes and their most precious jewelry. The room was filled with light and music and the smell of expensive food. Ho stood at the front of the hall, wearing new clothes that had been made just for him. They were simple compared to what the nobles wore, but they were clean and well-fitted. He felt uncomfortable with so many eyes on him, but he tried not to show it. Queen Vara stood beside him, looking more beautiful than ever in her royal dress and crown. Lyra was on his other side, holding his hand and smiling up at him. "People of the Dominion," Queen Vara announced, her voice filling the great hall. "I have called you here today to witness something important, something that has not happened in over 300 years. The crowd was silent, everyone was listening. "6 months ago, a human named Ho saved my daughter's life. Not once, but twice. He fought against criminals who wanted to harm her. He stood alone against impossible odds. He risked his own life without hesitation." She turned to look at Ho. "In our tradition, such a person is not just a hero. They are a guardian, a protector of the royal blood, and by our ancient law, they are bound to the throne forever." Gasps rose from the crowd. Some nobles looked shocked. Others looked angry, a few looked curious. "Today," the queen continued, "I make it official before all of you. Ho of Earth is no longer a guest in this palace. He is family. He carries the mark of our house and the protection of our laws. Anyone who harms him will be treated as if they harmed me." She picked up a small box from a table beside her. Inside was a silver chain with a pendant. The pendant showed the royal symbol, the same mark that was on Lyra's forehead. "Ho," she said, "do you accept this bond? Do you swear to protect the royal family with your life and your heart? Do you accept us as your own?" Ho looked at the pendant. Then he looked at Lyra, whose eyes were bright with hope. Then he looked at Vara, whose face was calm but whose hands were shaking just a little. "I accept," he said. The queen placed the chain around his neck. The pendant was cool against his skin, but it felt warm somehow. It felt right. The crowd began to clap. Some of them were sincere. Some of them were just following tradition. But Ho did not care. All that mattered was the smile on Lyra's face and the tears in Vara's eyes. After the ceremony, there was a great feast. Nobles came to congratulate Ho, though some of them still looked at him with suspicion. Commander came too. He did not say much, but he gave Ho a small nod of respect. That was enough. Late that night, after everyone had left and the palace was quiet, Ho stood on a balcony looking up at the stars. The pendant hung around his neck, shining in the light from the distant suns. He heard footsteps behind him, 2 sets, one heavy, one light. "You should be sleeping," he said without turning around. "I could not sleep," Lyra said. She came to stand beside him, looking up at the sky. "It is too exciting." "The princess is right," Vara said, joining them. "Sleep can wait." They stood together in silence for a long moment. The three of them, a queen, a princess, and a human from a small planet far away. "I never thought my life would turn out like this," Ho said quietly. "I never thought anyone would want me." "That is because you did not see yourself clearly," Vara said. "You are brave and kind and loyal. Those are rare qualities in any species." Lyra grabbed his hand. "You are family now, Ho. You will never be alone again. You will always have us." Ho felt tears in his eyes. He did not try to hide them this time. "Thank you," he whispered. "Both of you, thank you for giving me a home." Vara put her hand on his shoulder. "No, Ho, thank you. Thank you for saving my daughter. Thank you for staying. Thank you for being you." She leaned in and kissed his cheek softly. It was a gentle kiss, a grateful kiss. But there was something else in it too, something that might grow into more given time. Ho's heart was full. He had spent so many years feeling empty, feeling like he did not matter. And now, standing on this balcony with people who loved him, he finally understood what it meant to belong. The stars above seemed brighter than ever. The universe was vast and cold and dangerous. But here, on this station in this palace, Ho had found something worth more than any treasure. He had found a family. And he would protect them with everything he had. Not because it was his job, not because of any tradition or law, but because they were his, and he was theirs. Forever.